These infection AUs seem really cool. Maybe I should make my own. Hey! It's been a year since I did my last infection AU video, and I have finally returned in order to completely redo it all. The reason I stopped at the second video last time was because I literally had nothing planned out. I had a vague idea of what I wanted and rolled with it, which of course led to me getting bored once I ran out of ideas, and so I stopped making videos about it. But it never left my mind. I was constantly thinking about what I could do differently and actually figuring out a proper story and stuff. I also started actually thinking about character designs, and instead of just like running in with a slight like, oh, I want to change this and that's it, I wouldn't do any other ideas. So after like everything was done, I decided to make a whole new video. Now that you have an explanation, let's actually talk about the topic of today's video. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, I am aware that infection AUs are not popular anymore. I promise I know that, but I do not care. I like this story I came up with, so I'm gonna tell it to you even if it's not gonna get any clicks. I want this out of my head. I'm going to assume, since you clicked on this video, that you know what Obey Me is, but some people are weird and just like clicking on art videos because they want to see the art. So I'll be nice and I'll give you a quick rundown. Obey Me is a dating sim that was created in 2019 by Solomare. It follows the story of the MC being dropped into a place called the Devil Dome, which is basically hell in the game, and they learn to live with hot anime versions of the Seven Deadly Sins along with some other characters that eventually become dateable, and then they added more characters that aren't dateable. So let's start the story, beginning with obviously an explanation of the infection. I decided to name the infection Putresco, which, if the translation app that I used is correct, means I rot, and it is caused by the overuse of one's powers. When a being starts using their powers too much, a black substance will begin to form where they're using powers the most. If the being continues using their powers, the substance starts to spread, causing their skin to decay and their bones to turn black. Once it has taken over the being's brain, it can cause one of two outcomes. The first one being the obvious death, and the second one being the loss of one's sanity, often leading to extreme violence. Putresco can infect angels, demons, and humans. Reapers are the only ones who cannot be infected due to the fact that they are always so close to death and disease. Patient Zero was centuries ago. No one knows who or what they were, or if they were somehow cured. But as far as the citizens of Devil Dome, Celestial Realm, and the human realm are aware, there is no known cure. And all they can do is watch their loved ones slowly succumb to the disease. The Demon King has been missing for centuries. Some say it's because he got tired of doing all the work required to be king. Others claim he's actually dead and no one in the palace will admit it. Either way, no one has seen him for years, and most just moved on. But what was the Demon King like before he left? That's easy. He was a great king, with a presence that made everyone turn to him, even if the event had nothing to do with him. He knew when to stop being benevolent and start being ruthless. And as much as those moments scared people, he always came back to his usual kind self. He and his wife loved their people very much. So when it was announced that the queen was pregnant, the Devil Dome rejoiced. But as we all know, the baby was born with all the light in his eyes that he stole from his mother. The king was devastated, so much that he couldn't bear looking at the child. His depression got to the point where he stopped making public appearances and didn't do most of the paperwork he was given. When the Celestial War started, he stood back and watched, causing everyone to wonder why. The king understood that his kingdom was in danger, and that the angels fighting were getting very close to it. And when 7 figures fell from the sky, he stood up, sent his son to check it out, and walked away. By the time the prince came back to the castle, his father was gone. And he has stayed gone ever since. Until he suddenly reappeared one day, saying he would take over the brunt of the Putresco research. Since this is pretty much a completely original character, I kind of just went for it. He sort of came easy to me, but at the same time, it was hard to make a design that lived up to the hype that the game gave him. I wanted to show him both in his prime and after he returned. For his prime version, I wanted him to be well put together and seemingly proud of his title. I decided to give him a very fancy outfit, like bow tie and all, give him a little cape and everything, just to get that regal vibe from him. I decided to make his hair brown instead of red and give him slightly darker skin than I will be giving Diavolo. I have 2 reasons for doing this. One, I wanted him to look different from Diavolo, and I wanted to show that both him and the queen passed down some elements to the prince. Namely, the king gave him his eye color and hair texture. If I ever do end up designing a queen, which I doubt I'll do, I might, but who knows. But if I ever did, she would definitely have fluffier hair and darker eyes, lighter skin. Anyways, back to the Demon King. I wanted to make it very obvious that he was royalty. I wanted everyone to look at him and think, that there is a king. And I do not know if I actually succeeded in that, but I tried. And I designed the crown all by myself. I took reference from those crystal crowns that I don't know, you would see on Amazon if you looked up witch's crown. And also actually I think that's it. I took their shape sort of and made my own thing. I don't know what my thought process there was, but I made it myself. Woo! For the king's returning design, I wanted to make him look like a mess. I wanted it to be very obvious that he did not take care of himself while he was gone. I made his hair longer. I made his outfit a little shabbier, which I mean I could have done better, but I already finished it, so whatever. I also tried to make him look older by giving him some eye wrinkles, those smile lines and stuff. But when I look at them side by side, I can definitely tell a difference, so I think I did good. Diavolo tried his hardest to make the citizens of the Devil Dome feel the same way they did under his father's rule. He didn't think it was working. He could feel how on edge they were nowadays, and try as he might, he couldn't ease their worry. And to be honest, he wouldn't feel at ease if he was a citizen himself. Everyone could tell things weren't going well. Putresco cases were rising, and with that came fear, violence, and desperation. He needed to find a cure. Fast. But nothing he found was new. It seemed that the researchers from the past had figured out everything they could, but that wouldn't stop him. He needed help if he wanted to truly find everything they could. So he grabbed the obvious choice, Lucifer. But the 2 of them didn't find anything, and the task became too much just for the 2 of them. So, against Lucifer's wishes, Diavolo recruited Mephistopheles into the group. They bickered a bit, but it was nothing he couldn't handle. As long as they got the work done, it was fine. But some days were better than others with those 2. Sometimes there would be 1 or 2 comments, and that was it. Other times, they would make remarks nonstop. Nothing physical ever happened, though. It was one of the better days when Barbados opened the door with his father next to him. At first, there was shock, then a mix of reactions. Mephistopheles immediately bowed. Lucifer froze, and Diavolo walked up to the man smiling. He started asking questions, talking about what he's been up to, anything that came to mind, really. But he was cut off when the king held up his hand. The king told the three of them that he would be taking over the project, and that they weren't needed anymore. Barbados led them out of the office. They went back to their normal lives, and Diavolo never saw his father leave that office. But he reassured himself, if anyone could find the cure to Putresco, it would be his father. After 3 weeks, Barbados collected the three and brought them back to the Demon King's office. His father explained that he didn't want the rest of the Devil Dome to know he was back. So, he wanted the three of them to go out and do some field research. And so, they began their work, asking anyone who was willing to talk to them what they thought of Putresco, if they were afflicted by it, or if they had a family member afflicted by it, and so on and so forth. When they found the body of someone who had died from the infection, they would take a part of the body and bring it back to the Demon King so he could do some tests on it. While Diavolo was happy to help his father, he wished there was more he could do. He didn't want to just be out in the city asking random demons about what they thought of Putresco and such. He didn't even know if it was necessary. He assumed that his father just wanted to get rid of them for a bit. Diavolo's design was easy. It was the colors that gave me trouble. To be honest, I'm still not completely happy with them, but we'll get to that in a moment. First of all, he, I don't know, to me, he looks a little small on the canvas. That is because, I use this wonderful website, heightcomparison.com, and I put all of the characters I will be drawing in one lineup, and the Demon King is the tallest, hence why the rest will look kind of small on the canvas compared to him. I also didn't use the canon heights because I genuinely forgot those existed. I don't know why, I just did. But I kept the height differences that are in the game. Like for the 7, I kept Beelzebub the tallest and Osmodius the shortest, and so on and so forth. Anyways, like I said, the outfit, body type, and other such things you figure out before line art was easy. It was the the colors that fucked with me. I had a color palette I found, and I liked it when I looked at it. But then I put them all together, and combined with his skin tone, I gave him, I'm gonna give it to you straight, it looked like shit. And it kinda still does. It's not as bad, but it's also not great. I might fix it later and show it in the next video, but for now, you'll get this. I genuinely just wanted a black and gold color palette. I don't know why it was so hard to get it to work, but you know, that's color theory for you, I guess. Actually, there is one thing I like regarding the colors, and that is his skin tone, because I have a consistent one. Which means if I ever do their demon forms, he will have the same skin tone, which is better than Solomare could do. Barbados raised the prince from birth. Many of the other workers in the castle say he's the boy's true father. He doesn't agree with that idea. It was a job. If the king hadn't ordered him to do it, he would have barely been in the boy's life. Once every few days, the young prince would ask why he couldn't see his father. Barbados considered telling the truth. After all, they were demons, and demons were inherently cruel. But he didn't. He always claimed it was due to a lack of time. His father was a king, after all. As the prince grew, the less that excuse worked. One day, he gave in and spoke to his majesty about spending at least an hour with his son. Surprisingly, the king agreed, but he couldn't even last the hour, and the boy cried for the rest of the day. When the 7 brothers fell, the king sent him and the prince to look into it. Before they left, he pulled Barbados to the side and told him he was leaving.
Barbados protested. The prince was still too young and inexperienced to rule, but the king refused to listen. He told Barbados where he would be, and to only get him if it was the only option. Reluctantly, Barbados agreed, and walked back over to the prince, and they left. In the present day, Barbados continues the same tasks he had in the past. Be the head butler of the castle, watch over the prince, and occasionally check the timelines to make sure nothing is off. He's perfectly fine with the monotonous life he lives. Of course, there's the occasional pest named Solomon, who summons him for help. Oh, how he regrets making that pact. But, other than that, life is acceptable. He doesn't understand the sudden rise in Putresco cases. Yes, there had been a few cases here and there throughout the years, but for some reason, more humans were getting it. As far as he knew, there hasn't been any rising violence recently. If anything, the violence was coming from those already infected. So, why were new cases popping up? The young prince, Lucifer, and Mephistopheles were working tirelessly to figure it out, and yet they found nothing. The boys were getting so engrossed in their work that they wouldn't sleep for weeks, which isn't new, but it's still bad. So he did the only thing he could think of. Barbados went to the center of the Devil Dome and pleaded with the king to return to the castle. He explained that the boys were finding nothing and they needed help. The Demon King thought it was a useless endeavor, but he agreed, on the condition that if a cure was found, he would leave. But if the search goes on for over a year and no cure has been found, he will also leave. Having no other choice, Barbados agrees, and the two head back to the castle.
I had no clue what to do for Barbados's design. I didn't want to give him like just the rad uniform because I feel like all of them should have their own outfit, not just a school uniform like Barbados and Diavolo do in the original game. I mean, they don't even get like casual-esque outfits until they start bringing the human world into it, and I don't know. I feel like that's not a good idea because the rest of the cast, like I said, have like outfit designs. Even the other side characters do. So whatever. I um I liked how it turned out though. I think the design looks good in my opinion. But I have no idea how I got here. I wanted to make him older, at least because even though his age is vague in the game, it's kind of like he says, I'm pretty sure at one point, I'm too lazy to go fact check this, but he says, I think, he like worked for the Demon King before he worked for Diavolo, and that kind of implies that he's older than he looks. So I need, and because it's an Otome game, Otome games are kind of scared to show age, at least as far as I've noticed with these games. So I wanted to give him at least eye wrinkles just to give off the vibes that he's, a little older than the rest of the cast. I also wanted to give him a darker color palette. I don't know why. I thought it would look good. I didn't like especially the really saturated teal that was on the little bit of his hair. I really didn't like how that looked. Here they are all together. I really like how they turned out, and I would like to know your favorite in the comments below. Well, that was really fun. I forgot how much I love talking about this AU. Maybe this time I'll get past the second video, but first we have to wait for the second video to come out. And that video will most likely be the next one on my channel. So, if you want to be notified for that, feel free to subscribe. But if you don't want to subscribe, you could just like the video to prove that you enjoyed my content. Maybe leave a comment as well. If you want to see some other art from me, but without waiting for the next video, you can follow me on my Instagram, Tumblr, or TikTok, or all three. Who cares? I also eventually want to start getting commissions on VGen. Let me know if you're interested in that. But I kind of need a code, so if someone would be nice enough to DM me a code, that would be great, but no pressure to do so. Well, that is all from me. I will see you in the next video. Bye!